Well, welcome out there to my program once again. Always a pleasure to be here and always happy to have you out there watching. And I know you do watch. Matter of fact, the proof of the pudding is the guest I have on the show this time around. I was at a ceremony at Diman. As you know, I've graduated from Diman. Very good school, great school actually. And there was a ceremony in regards to the automotive shop. A new service center was put in, and the money was raised by the Diman Education Foundation. And at that ceremony, I was approached by a student who told me he watches my show, which I was kind of surprised to hear, since my program gets to be a little political, and I didn't expect a student at Diman to have that type of interest, but it's good that he has. Well, anyway, here he is on my program. Ryan Fournier, nice to have you on the show.
Nice to be here, Richard.
Student at Diman. Wow, that's great. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years. I've never had a student from Diman. Come on.
Well, I'm glad to be the first.
This is, you're breaking new ground here. Well, what year are you in?
I'll be entering my senior year in September.
September. And what shop are you in?
I'm in the electrical shop.
Electrical. Okay, there's the electrical shop and you have electronics.
Right, electronics.
So you're in electrical?
Yes.
All right. Well, what's the difference between the electrical shop and the electronics shop?
Well, the electrical shop is much more focused on the residential aspect in terms of wiring houses, receptacles, switches, so on and so forth. But there's also an industrial element, which the way the curriculum's set up, we get into that in the junior year. Whereas the electronics shop, what I do know of it, is it's more focused on programming and the smaller components of wiring.
I see. Now, before you entered Diman, you were sitting there somewhere thinking about what high school you were going to go to. Was there any deep research? Did you have an idea out of grammar school where you wanted to go? Why did you choose Diman?
Well, I come from a long line of people who have gone to Diman.
Oh, well.
Aunts, uncles, grandparents even.
Is that right?
An interesting story I will tell you is my mother wanted to go to Diman, but back when she was of high school age, they did not let girls into Diman.
Yeah.
So she didn't end up going. I believe she went to a Catholic high school that's closed now. I don't quite remember the name, but I chose Diman because I wanted to get into a trade. And I went in debating whether I'd go into electronics or electricity, and I eventually chose the electrical shop.
Now, your experience at Diman. Generally speaking, how has it been going to Diman insofar as, we might say, discipline, learning the trade, things of that nature?
In terms of discipline, they definitely run a very tight ship over there, and it can be a little off-putting at first, but once you get used to it, you grow to respect the staff, the administrators, and you learn that they really respect you as well as a student. You know, they don't underestimate your intelligence, and they're not trying to talk down to you. They're really trying to help you better yourself.
Now, back in May of this year, I went to Marlboro. They had the Skills USA. Now, that was quite a program. Do you have any knowledge of that program, Skills USA?
Yes, I do. I've actually been a skills participant since my sophomore year. I've participated in the job skills demonstration, which is more focused on performing a 3 to 5 minute task, and you explain it in front of a panel of judges. I've also participated in the job skills area, in which you would take a test, and should you advance to the state competition, you actually perform wiring.
That was quite an experience for me. I've been a judge there a few years now, and a lot of the students, of course, from various vocational high schools throughout the state. Now, what happens if a team wins? Let's say a Diman, one of the Diman teams wins the judging, in other words, gets the highest grade points. Does it go from there?
At the district level?
Yeah.
Well, where you were judging, I'm assuming at the district level in the school, they would go on to the state level, which is all of Massachusetts. And after that, you'd go on to the national level. Now, my understanding of the skills organization is that once you reach age 18, you're eligible to be into a international skills competition, which is held with people from all over the world.
Wow, that's something. So, here you are, a senior, almost, and does that make you feel kind of ready to graduate almost?
I wouldn't say ready to graduate, but I'm definitely ready to see new things. I mean, the school experience, it's very rewarding for me personally, but I'm definitely excited to get out there into the larger world, the world of work.
Now, you work now.
Yes.
You just came from, I want the audience to know, that Ryan just came from his job, actually, to be on this program. So here he is, a junior at Diman, and he's already out there working, which is a credit to him and also an example to other students out there, whether they're at Diman or any high school, that once you leave school in June, it doesn't mean that, you know, it's the end of the year, so to speak. There are opportunities and jobs. Tell us a little about the job that you're working at.
Well, right now I work for Whirlpool, which was formerly the American Dryer Corporation, and they have me hired on co-op as an electrical engineering technician.
Now, where is that?
Whirlpool, it's off of Airport Road.
All right, because I did hear of American Dryer, so now it's Whirlpool.
Yes.
All right.
They were bought, and now they're a sort of a subsidiary brand like Maytag.
And they manufacture?
We will be Whirlpool's commercial laundry factory in conjunction with another group in Michigan.
And they manufacture washing machines, is that it?
Washers and dryers.
Washers and dryers. Are these the industrial type?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not something you'd have in your home. It's something you'd see at the laundromat. Yes.
Okay. All right. And what is your job there now?
Well, as I said, they have me hired as an electrical engineering technician, and what that entails is that I make prints of the harnesses that they use in their dryers, and I make testers for those harnesses. And at the wiring bench, people who actually wire up the harnesses, they can test their harnesses using my boards I make.
Now, a harness is this like an electrical assembly that...
Right, it's the wiring that goes inside the machine.
And that assembly kind of gets plugged in or put in, and that's the complete electronic aspect of the
Yes.
machine. So if something were to happen to the machine, it malfunctioned, what would happen?
Well, all sorts of things could happen. It could be anything from some malfunction in the machine itself to a fire hazard. And what the importance of my job is to check the wiring. Because without what I do, they wouldn't be able to check the wiring. They wouldn't be able to test their harnesses before they're actually being used. And even though I'm not actually putting out equipment in terms of building wiring that's actually used on the dryers and washers, my job is very important because without what I do, they can't test their wiring and make sure they've done it right.
I see. So that's it. That machine doesn't go out the door unless it works, right?
Absolutely.
And you're pretty much instrumental in making sure that machine is going to work before it goes out the door. Is that correct?
I wouldn't say instrumental. There are a lot of people that are involved in it, but in terms of testing and that preparation process, what I do is extremely important.
Good for you. Now, so what is the school day like? You have the academic aspect portion that's a 2-week segment, and then you go for 2 weeks into the shop. What is the start us off with the shop? What is the shop like? You get there in the morning. How does your day start?
All right, the shop, it usually starts depending on whether you're a junior and lower or whether you're a senior. You'll usually meet with the instructor in the morning, meet with your other classmates or shopmates, if you will, and there's usually a brief overview of what you'll go over that day.
All right, so you get there and people are told in a group or individually?
Usually in a group. Sometimes there are some stragglers that trickle in, as
Oh.
we know, but the main difference, I would say, is that with the seniors, they're usually briefed and then they go out and do outside work, whether that's in the school or whether that's at an outside location.
So a senior would go outside to do electronic work. Where would that take place?
Oh, it could be
an
within the
example?
school. There was work done at the Auto Tech Service Center.
Yeah.
There was work done in the gymnasium that I know of. And sometimes there are houses and the seniors are part of that. But those seniors are usually, if not always, the ones who don't have other co-op jobs. So they go out with a senior instructor and do other jobs. So they're still getting work experience. It's just that it's not in a co-op form.
Oh, okay. Give us an idea what you mean by co-op.
Well, co-op is simply any outside employment.
All right, so you actually leave the school,
Right.
and you might go over to Whirlpool.
Right.
That theoretically could happen, and that would be a co-op type situation where you're still in school.
Right. And in terms of co-op, it's really any outside hiring. And it's a very bold line. If you're on co-op, you're hired by an outside company and you go there for the 2 weeks instead of going to shop. If you're not on co-op, then you do whatever the particular shop senior instructor needs you to do or wants you to do, whether it be going out and doing outside jobs or doing projects in the shop.
All right, in the shop, what is your day like? What time do you roughly start?
We roughly start at about 7:45 in the morning.
7:45, and is there any morning break?
There's a morning break. There has been some change over the years, but I believe it's about 9 in the morning, a 15-minute break, and then we have lunch at noon, I believe.
Noon. And what time is the school day end?
2:28.
2:28. Oh, that hasn't changed too much, I don't think. Well, so there you are in the shop, and you learn your various aspects of electronics, and you have what they call shop tech. Now,
Yes,
that's-
related.
Excuse me?
It's called related now.
Okay, shop related. All right, and that takes place during the academic portion.
Yes.
How long is it? 1 hour, one period?
For the electrical shop, and other shops may do it differently, but the juniors receive 45 minutes, one period, of related instruction every day in the academic cycle, whereas seniors receive 2 periods, which works out to about 1 hour, 30 minutes.
I see. Shop tech interesting?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And what do you do in the shop related?
It's usually learning more of the formulas. There's definitely a focus on the code. And it also mirrors academic classes in some ways because there are tests taken, as in written tests. And the main difference with shop tech and shop itself is that usually the related classes go by a bit quicker, if you don't mind me saying, because it's one subject and you go right through it, you cover it, you take your test, and then you're on to the next thing. You look at your notes if you need it in shop. Whereas shop, you could be doing multiple different things during the day, and it can change at the drop of a hat.
Now, is there a basic formula in electronics? What is that formula? E equals?
E equals I times R?
Yeah. What does that mean? E equals I times. I was told long ago that's kind of like a basic formula.
That's voltage equals current times resistance.
And that's very important to understand that
Yes.
formula. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. Now, you have the academic portion.
Yes.
And, well, of course, people will say students, Diman students only get half of the academic education that someone would get who goes to Durfee. Do you find that to be absolutely true?
I wouldn't say exactly half. I definitely say if you took a high honors student from Diman that excelled in, say, math as a senior, and you put them against a high honors student from Durfee who excelled in math as a senior, I'd say that that person from Durfee would have an edge simply because they have more time, they can go more in depth.
Right.
I know in this past year, there was talk that we were losing 30 hours in our trigonometry course because of how scheduling was done. So it's a sort of disadvantage, but I think that makes both the teachers and by extension the students work a little bit harder to get the important concepts down. On the other side of the coin, you could say that students lose out a little bit on some of the more extraneous things, but I think we get a very good understanding.
Now, you mentioned trigonometry, so you go that high.
Yes. And this next year, I'll be taking pre-calculus as a senior.
Well, that's really wonderful. Now, you'll be a senior next year, graduate. Do you plan on going to, what you might call higher education?
Like college?
Yeah.
The way Whirlpool is structured, actually, they're willing to help me pay for college.
Well, that's great.
And I'm sure there are other agreements that I haven't gotten into yet. It's simply too early, but there are definitely a lot of opportunities. And I'd like to stress that I'm somebody who doesn't have a license. I don't have a car. And of other people I know who are on co-op, they're in similar situations. They don't have tools. They have other disadvantages. I know people who have gone in on interviews and gone to the trades fair, and they say, oh, I don't have a license, and that there it ends. And through the co-op program, I've gotten these wonderful opportunities that I otherwise wouldn't have. So I'm definitely grateful for that.
Well, that's good. So, you going into, do you play any sports?
I do not.
No sport. Okay, any clubs, any extra,
Extracurriculars,
curricular?
right. I am in the National Honor Society.
I see. And what does that mean?
The National Honor Society, its admission is based on academics, and once you get in, it's a very community service-driven organization. There are walks for different causes, charity walks, if you will. Donations are done during the year, and it's really a club that's focused on the community, but admission is based on academics.
And give the audience an example what you might do in a community.
Well, I'll give one example. We went and raised money and walked at, I believe it was UMass Dartmouth, and that was the Relay for Life, which is a charity. Another example is we donated clothing around Christmas time to the Clothe a Child program via the Salvation Army, and that gives needy, underprivileged children warm clothes, jackets, and so forth to wear in the winter.
Now, these activities that you get involved in, are these after school, weekends, combination?
It's a combination, but generally the administration likes to have any sort of clubs, be it sports or things like the National Honor Society, take place outside of school hours. They want to get as much class time for the students as possible, but there are some inevitabilities.
Let's let the audience know that your instructor is here in studio with us.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce him? Let the people know who he is, his name?
Absolutely. My instructor, who's also the department head of the electrical shop, is Mr. John Narciso.
And he's here. That's nice to have you in the studio. Matter of fact, I've given your instructor an invitation so that if he has other students that might want to come here, or maybe you'd like to come back and sit with other students, you're welcome. So, here we are, Diman Vocational High School. It's come a long way. Have you ever gone by the old school on Hartwell Street?
I have not, but I've heard of it.
Yeah.
For what that's worth.
Well, the building is still there, and it was a very small school. How many students in your class? Now, you go into, I know when you start off my freshman year, you probably have a bigger class. Maybe some students move away, whatever reason they drop out. How many did you start off with, if you remember, roughly?
If I remember, there was some 350.
Well, in your shop only.
Not in my shop, in my
class?
In my year.
Freshman class?
Yes.
No, but in your shop?
In my shop, it started out as 10 and B weeks for 20 total, and now I believe we're at 18. So there's definitely been a high retention rate. It's not as if people are running away from the electrical shop.
Yeah. How many in your class now, and you're going to be a senior, how many in the electronics shop as a senior when you go in?
In the electrical shop, there will be those 18.
18 students?
Yes.
Okay, and you're all in one class?
No.
No.
There are, assuming there aren't any scheduling changes over the summer, there will be 10 of us in the A week and 8 in the B week.
All right, so class sizes are fairly small.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of opportunities for one-on-one time with the instructor. It's not like an academics class where they're very large at Diman. If there's one criticism I do have about Diman, it's one thing I'd like to make very clear, is that some of the class sizes are obscene. They're very large, and I remember in my junior year, there was actually a test given at the first day of the class, and two students were dropped from the honors class because there were simply too many people in the room, and it was unsafe. So
How many students were in the room, roughly?
I believe there were 27, and the max capacity was 25.
I see.
Now, I heard that Durfee and Diman competed for a grant not too long ago that would allow them to expand the campus, and I don't know what happened there, but it's definitely something Diman could use, whether it's an extension of the current campus or another campus in the city. It's definitely one thing.
Yeah, there's been talk about that. I heard that myself. I don't know what the status is at this point. But okay, so there you are, and you're at in the electronics department.
The electrical.
Electrical. Why do I keep saying electronic?
Oh, don't worry, it happens all the time.
Okay. Now, matter of fact, as a side note, sad he passed, I was with one of the old electrical instructors at Diman, Chet Hayden. He's 92 years old, and he's still getting around. And I remember going into his shop, and they had a lot of frames, 2x4s and things of that nature. Is that still how the shops are set up?
I don't.
Go ahead.
Well, if you could elaborate on frames, I'd love to.
Well, like walls, things of that nature, where the wiring was done.
Well, we do have a house.
Okay, you work in,
a
at the
makeshift
school?
house.
All right.
In the school. It's not finished, and it's essentially to get practice with residential wiring. But there are walls that wiring and piping are done on, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. So the petition, so to speak, of a house, and you go through various projects during the course of the 4 years you were at Diman.
Right. Well, the freshman curriculum is focused on Romex wiring and a few other types of wiring projects on one wall. The sophomores are more focused on the house and some ceiling wiring, if you will, that would involve going on high ladders, so you get used to that a little bit more. And then the juniors, that's where the curriculum shifts into industrial motor controls.
All right, industrial motor controls, and what is that?
Such as motors, on delay, off delay,
Okay, so that's considered electrical,
yes.
not electronic.
Not electronic. So it'd be more like wiring garage doors.
All right, so the motor for the garage
Right.
door, up and down. You deal with the remotes too nowadays?
Well, because of the limitations of the shop, we use things like stop and start push buttons, but that could easily be adapted over to a remote.
All right. So you've got 3 years of Diman behind you. Anything you'd like to let us know? Something that was, like very interesting? Maybe a little thing that happened during the course of your studies there? Difficult project you might have been involved in, or a project you were very happy doing?
Well, in terms of projects I've done, I definitely enjoyed working in the house and just getting used to that type of work, and it was very important for me between the house wiring and now being on co-op, because I made the determination that I'd rather work on the more industrial side of things with what I'm doing with Whirlpool. And I think that's very important, that you get two sides of the trade there so that people aren't just sent on a conveyor belt one way or the other. They're able to get a little taste of everything.
Now, once you graduate from Diman, will you be able to, you plan on taking the electrical code examination, or does that take more time, more study?
That takes a bit of time. The way the licensing works, which is what would be the electrical code, that's what it would be a part of, you need a certain amount of both working time, which is measured on green sheets, and you'd also need code hours, which are actually classes that you can take at Diman with Diman electrical instructors that count towards your time.
Those are evening classes?
Evening classes, yes.
Yeah. So in other words, you'd have to start off as like an apprentice doing some work and getting these hours?
Yes, you'd start as an apprentice, then you can go for your journeyman's license, then you can go for your master's license later on.
Okay, do you plan to go all the way?
Absolutely.
Masters? How long do you think that's going to take? Roughly.
Roughly, say 6 years.
6 years. Good for you. Master electrician, yeah, you'll be in a good position thereafter in life. Do you think so?
Absolutely.
Is that why you chose Diman?
Absolutely.
All right. Want to tell us anything else about the school in general?
No, I've enjoyed my time there. I think it's a great school. It's not for everybody, you know. There are some people who may not be geared towards those certain trades. But I can say, whether you like the trades or not, there are definitely useful things to be learned. And if there's one lesson I could give to all of your viewers, and I know the demographic in question isn't really the one who can benefit the most from it, but take all the free education you can get, take all of the opportunities you can get, and when you're done taking that, take all the cheap ones.
There you go. All right. You get it right from a student who's had the experience and still getting additional experience at Diman. Wonderful school. So if you're sitting out there and you're wondering what high school you should go to, or your parents are thinking about this school or that school, look into Diman. A great place to go. And I want to thank your instructor for being here in the studio. And Ryan, nice to have you.
It's great to be here.
Very conscientious, good student. And you're welcome to come back, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you out there for watching. I hope you enjoyed the program. I did, so we'll see you next time.